Okay.
You know, basically what they're doing is getting it, and they can, well, unfortunately, that information is not going to be disseminated in the notice itself, and the law doesn't require it, but in effect, everybody who gets one can effectively write no or yes on it and cast the 25% or cast whatever number of votes they would cast in that manner. They write I oppose, no, please reject, whatever, and that would constitute a negative vote.
That mailing should come back to us.
I'm sorry?
That mailing should probably come back to us. I would like to see.
It's got to go through, they've got to certify it to you.
Okay.
And the process that I've agreed on with Mr. Imbrogno is meeting that, is they have to have certified public accountants receive those,
Good.
tabulate them, and certify to this commission
Good.
that they got of the, how many are on here, Mr. DeBerry?
It's about
Why would you know?
About nine, all right, say there's 1,900.
For or against, and make them return it.
Say there's 1,900 names on this list. The accountants are going to have to come in and certify that we mailed on April 25th 1,900 envelopes addressed in this manner. And the process that we've agreed upon is there will be a list that mirrors the names on the envelopes. Each envelope will be checked with the list. Each name will be canceled by the stamp of that post office, demonstrating that it was in fact mailed that day. Then the accountants would have to certify that that process was ritually and accurate at 100% followed. And then of the 1,900, they're going to have to certify that 1,750 were absolutely delivered, 75 came back, whatever. They have to account for every one of those envelopes to you.
Okay. So
that you all know, and that's a criterion that you'll go by at the time of your meeting. Like say for some reason 1,900 envelopes go out and 400 get delivered. And the accountants certify that to you. Well, that's going to show you right there, hey, there's something wrong with the process.
Yeah.
You know, we got to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, or demand something further. And there is also a provision there for a publication. So they're duplicating on that effort. You know, you have actual service, then you have what we call constructive service by publication. So they're going to have that. And once you get all that information certified by the accountants, you all can make that determination. Then at that meeting, you will have the ability to, just a second, I'll give you the terminology. You can modify the information of the petition. You can make changes to the petition at that time, or you can approve the petition as sent. But you can actually act on the petition at that meeting. You're just doing the completeness determination right now.
Let's move forward on that. I think we all agree that having more than one meeting is likely going to materialize, and that's perfectly fine. We want to have as
I
much
think the only
public study as possible.
prohibition is you can't have one before the expiration of 60 days from the date of mailing. We have to give 60 days from the date of mailing. We have to give that time to go out before we can have that public meeting. So I want, Mr. Maupin, if I may, we have a motion on the table now, and at this point, with our prosecuting attorney, we have to follow through on that motion at this point. Mr. Martin, anything else you want to highlight for us? And any other questions, Mr. Walker, Mr. Deere?
Well, I just wonder what would be the reality of requesting that these letters be returned, whether they be for or against the rate. I mean, if you mail out 1,900 and 1,500 of them is received, they should check yes or no and mail them 1,500 back.
They're not going to provide that way, and I don't mean to mislead you. What I was simply saying is people are going to get a notice, and the notice is set forth in the document. They're going to get this notice that on thus and such date, and that's the date you all decide, you're going to vote on this. Okay, at that time, people could technically vote on that document.
That's
Okay,
right.
or somebody,
But how will they know that they have that option? I mean, will they just instinctively know
unfortunately,
that?
the law doesn't say that, it doesn't require them to do it. But somebody who's an owner at a Westridge homeowner could then can get this list and send out a mailing to everybody and say, hey, Snowshoe's trying to pull a fast one on us. You know, I want you to join up with me, call me, go to my website, whatever. Vote no.
That'd take several $100.
So,
Yeah, well, sorry.
Certainly organizational issues would present themselves as those to be a concerted effort to defeat the RAD. But this is the way the law provides that it be done. But people can come to the public meeting, advocate for changes in the petition, you all can make those changes at that time. Or they could technically show 1,900 people could show up, and by show of hands, 50% of them could show hands and say, hey, we're not in favor of this, and it kills them.
Let me read this to us here. I know I looked at this earlier today. This is part of the notice procedures for creation of resort area district. And this is from Bob Martin, or to Bob Martin, I'm sorry, from in Brogno.
Mark and Brogno.
Brogno. And I'll just start in the middle of the document here. With respect to making sure that all property owners provided notice of the proposed district creation, the petitioners will provide notice through 4 different methods. First, as required by the West Virginia Code, notice will be mailed to each property owner within the district. This task should be relatively easy, as a list of property owners within the district has already been prepared for inclusion in the petition. As set forth in West Virginia Code, there's another reference there. Anybody can have a copy of this document if they'd like. Second, pursuant to West Virginia Code 725-6G, the notice will also be mailed to each president of a homeowners association within the district, which will provide an opportunity for them to also let their members know about the petition submissions. Third, as required by West Virginia Code 725-6C, notice will be posted in multiple conspicuous public locations throughout the district. Fourth, as required by West Virginia Code 725-6C, the notice will be published as a Class 2 legal advertisement in the Pocahontas Times at least 60 days prior to the date of the meeting. We propose the following procedure will be used to ensure that all persons to be mailed notice do in fact have such notice mailed to them. First, utilizing the list of all property owners within the district that is required to be submitted with the petition for creation of the district, envelopes will be prepared for all persons on the list. I know I'm overlapping some of this, Bob. You talked about this, Frank. Envelopes will be prepared for all persons on the list, and a copy of the notice will be placed therein. The accountants will then take all of the envelopes to be mailed, along with the list of all property owners, to a post office. The accountants will then work with a postal employee by giving the postal employee the list of all property owners and then reading aloud the name and address on each envelope as they hand them to the postal worker for mailing. The postal worker will then stamp the list with a postage cancellation stamp to indicate that such person on the list is being mailed the notice. After all the names on the property owner list have been stamped, the accountants will have the postal worker sign the list with a statement to the effect that all names on the list have been mailed a notice. Arrangements will be made with the postmaster of such post office beforehand for the providing of assistance with the mailing. After all the envelopes have been mailed to all the persons on the list and the accountants have the stamped list, the accountants will then be able to provide a certificate stating that all property owners within the proposed district have been mailed the notice, as required by West Virginia Code 725-6. The notice itself, and I'm hoping this will go to some of the questions we're asking here. The notice itself will be in substantially the form as the notice set forth in West Virginia Code 725-11B. Additionally, the notice will include the following statement in bold font. Pursuant to Chapter 7, Article 25, Section 6B of the Code of West Virginia of 1931, as amended, a resort area district may not be created by a county commission if, at the public meeting required by such section of the code, and for which the date, time, and location is provided above, written protest is filed by at least 25% of the owners of real property proposed to be included within the proposed resort area district. Unquote. So a petition, for example. In addition, we are open to including additional information in the notice as the county commission may deem appropriate. So this is our chance to get that in there. That's what made me think of this, was your idea about.
To give them an opportunity to return the letter.
This is just a public, a notice of a public meeting,
Yes.
correct?
So, I think, for my part, I think the notice is going to be sufficient. And I think the homeowner presidents and the homeowners will know by what's noticed right there that they have to write in response against. They don't have to write in response for.
Right.
But if we receive 25% against, that's it. So
Is that stated in this?
that's what I just read.
Well, I mean, in the letter?
That's what has to be stated in the letter that goes out to the homeowners, the letter to be mailed.
Oh, I thought the.
Additionally,
what
the
went out
notice
was
will
this right
include,
here.
the notice will include the following statement in bold fonts. You're thinking that has to just be, as far as the notice that they put it in 4 places. Well, one of those 4 is the letter being mailed. So, in the letter. that
But
has to be
in
on
the
there.
letter, it will notify that all
This is-
property owners has the option of 25% of them appealing.
That's what I just read. That's what that whole quote is.
Okay, so it'll
Yeah.
tell them that they need to send
can
it back
protest.
if they're against it.
I got that correct, right? I mean, the letter to the people will state that quote I just read.
It's gonna have that quote, it's gonna have that language that's in capital letters that you just read. That's going to be what they receive right there.
Very good.
That's what'll be
That's what they
typed
need to
on
know.
that letter.
That's exactly what they need to be aware of.
But if you were to
It
say, if
states
they
that
were to,
gotta
if they
respond
were,
If they're against it.
So that's what the notice is going to say. For my part, I'm okay with that notice. I think that's a sufficient and complete notice.
you could turn that into a
Mr.
complete
Walker,
vote.
What do you think about that?
Well, I didn't.
What's that quote right there? A resort area district may not be created by a county commission, yet the public meeting require 25%. So if I were a homeowner and I received that letter and I didn't like this idea for whatever reason, I'd be one of those 25% writing in right away.
Who are they sending it back to? You?
As Mr. Martin explained, the certified public accountant will document that process.
Y'all will have.
We'll get a copy of it.
No, I meant, who will the individual homeowners be told to send a response to?
Back to the certified accountant who's going to be dealing with that process. Is that right, Bob?
Well, they're not gonna be told to send the notice back to anybody. They're not gonna be told
If
that.
Mr. Walker
Mr.
says
DeBerry,
he
What are your
thinks
thoughts on that?
So, as in the law and on here, essentially, that anybody from within the district present that petition directly to the commission
Okay.
at or before the date of the public meeting.
Okay.
If the commission would like us as the petitioner to collect signatures against our petition.
No, I think what they have to do is they're gonna have to collect anything that's mailed back.
If we get anything,
That's what
I
I'm
would,
trying to-
yeah, we
Yeah,
would.
they're gonna
yeah.
have to do that.
That's Bob. That's what you were speaking to a
Right.
little while ago.
They're gonna have to certify, like, some of these are not gonna get delivered. We're all realists, and we realize that even with the best efforts of the postal service.
Some of the addresses aren't going to work.
That something's gonna happen, and a percentage of these are not gonna get delivered. So we're gonna have, their accountants are gonna have to certify to this commission how many didn't get there, right?
Okay.
Then there are gonna be some people who just take it right on it and say, hell no.
And
You know,
if those get
you're gonna
sent
have
back
people
to
that
you,
are just.
And the return address will be the CPA's.
Right.
address.
okay.
And
That
they're gonna have
CPA
to
will
certify those. And then there's gonna be people who say, that's the best thing I've ever heard of. They're gonna write that on there. They're gonna say, thanks Frank DeBerry, and mail it back. You know,
There's
you're
going to be
gonna
people
have
who want to
all of
write
these.
directly to us.
And the accountants have to certify that to you.
Okay.
See, we're not involved in this process, but they have to certify it to you.
I'm just figuring out of, say, 1,800 people here, I've probably only talked to, at a maximum, possibly 150 to 200 of these people. So it's not a very big percentage out of 1,900. So I just kind of wonder if it would be to our benefit that if you're strongly opposed to return a letter to us, or, I mean, would that be a bad idea?
That's a good
They could even put a vote down at the bottom saying.
I mean, I
am in
just think you would
favor, I
get
am
more
not
of an
in
input
favor,
from the public.
Check the box.
Because I know I haven't talked to a tenth of the people on that list right there.
Mark has left it open for you to add language like that you could put.
I mean,
something
I
at
think
the
that would be a benefit to us, just for the simple reason there's so many people that we haven't had any input from. That's my opinion. I don't know if that would be a benefit or a...
Well, I think it's a good idea. The only drawback I could see, I think probably we ought to do it, but the only drawback is that we're going to be responsible for tallying all those single votes instead of a CPA. Mr. Martin, is that not correct?
No.
No, it
Tell me
doesn't.
again.
No,
It still could go to the CPA.
it would have to go to the CPA because they've got to certify it. And
So
what you would
whatever
need,
sent
what I
directly
think
to
you
us-
would need on there would be a direction to mail it back to the address on the envelope, or mail it to an address there.
If you're opposed
Technically-
to it.
Technically, you
Or
could have it mailed to you.
Even if you're in favor of
But
it, I guess.
it's not our county's responsibility to certify this. It's the petitioner's responsibility.
And
we're
at the
talking
same time,
about-
we're trying to maintain, a trustworthy process that the vote will be tallied properly. So that's why a certified public.
We don't have the, right, we don't have the mechanisms in place. I mean, you can have them sent to your attorney and have Gene certified that so many letters came back in favor, so, we don't have that mechanism in place. The petitioner's gonna have it, because they've gotta certify the mailing itself. Why not? If you want this added step, that's certainly something very easily that we could ask the accountants to do. Put
Well,
a simple statement
Mr.
on there,
DeBerry?
I'm in favor or I'm opposed, please return this to this address. You know?
Yeah, I would feel a lot better about it if 1,700 letters is received and 1,600 of them would come back as positive. I
Right.
would
That sure
feel
takes
like
care
that
of
the
that
people
issue,
wanted
wouldn't
it. Where if none of them is returned, you really still don't know whether they like it or they don't.
That's a good
just
point.
my personal
I
opinion.
mean, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, technically, the law says 25% have to say no, and that's it.
Technically, the law says this is all the petitioner has to do, period. But Mark has
Mr.
offered,
DeBerry?
Mark Abreu has offered to add other language, and Mr. DeBerry is sitting here nodding his head, so I'm presuming
Yeah.
he's agreeing with allowing this extra language if you desire it.
Mr. DeBerry, I just want to clarify, just a little while ago, in jest, you said Snowshoe would be happy to count the votes. What we're talking about is not Snowshoe counting the votes. We're talking about a certified public accountant counting the votes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Snowshoe's expense.
At Snowshoe's expense.
So at the meeting, after the 60 days is up, you will be able to walk in and say, we mailed out 1,900 letters.
Yes.
There were 1,700 of them received.
Yes.
1,500 of them says they agree with this. 2,000 or 200 of them says they do not agree. Or
The only thing
at
I
least
want to
have
be,
some numbers to go
I
by.
want to I want to nitpick and make sure we're on the same understanding.
Okay.
I don't know that I can say how many are received. I can say how many were not received and were returned to sender.
That's
Right,
what
right,
postal
right.
service were.
Right.
That I can
Yeah.
tell.
If you mail out 1,900 and 200 get kicked back, you know that at most 1,700 were received.
Right.
All right.
We have a case in West Virginia that says that proof of mailing is tantamount to proof of delivery.
Okay.
I think I have one thing that's really important.
Mr. Mark, go ahead. You've been raising your hand a lot. I'll let you go.
There are a lot of property owners, not a lot, there's a significant number of property owners that are absentee owners,
Right.
don't even know about this. I'd be willing to bet that there's a significant percentage that never even heard about this RAD.
Okay.
And just to send a notice saying there's going to be a public meeting for the RAD is not giving them any information. They'll say, what's that? So I think your idea of having some sort of at least where they can raise questions, about it and indicate yay or nay or whatever.
Good point. Mr. DeBerry, I guess sort of the hanging point we kind of have is tonight we're supposed, and the motion's on the table, to accept the petition as complete. But that process in and of itself does not address the language of the notice letter. And clearly we have some issues about the notice. what are your thoughts on how we should proceed with that aspect?
I can take the feedback that was provided tonight. I can add direction to return the notice if you're opposed, or
Okay.
you know, or if you wish to voice yourself in opposed or in favor,
Okay.
send it back to the CPA.
Okay, good.
Or if
So
it's
that
not
that
sent
goes
back, it's included that you're for it.
Right, right. And then what I would also do, I mean, I can put as many meeting dates as you would like. I just need to know what those meeting dates are into that notice.
That's assuming it goes out April 25th.
And I could still do that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I can do that from my end. I can do that tomorrow. And the envelopes are addressed. They're waiting for the language of the notice to be finalized so that we can send it.
Will the commission be able to look at the notice prior to being mailed?
Well, we're going to have to see the draft on that.
So you need another.
So what's the best way to do that?
Do you need to do that at another meeting, or do you need me to send that to
what
you?
we could do, I think what we could do, similar to other time-sensitive things we deal with, we could, I think first of all what I'll do is I'll withdraw my motion as presented.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that now. I withdraw my motion as presented, so we'll start afresh.
Well, that really don't have anything to do with this notice, does it?
Well, it does when I'm about to do.
Okay.
What we could do, this isn't a motion yet, but what we could do is consider making a motion where we deem the petition complete, contingent upon agreeing before the mailing goes on April 25th that the notice is to our liking.
Okay.
And we could do that through email.
Okay.
And you could put the language in the draft, in particular Mr. Walker, it's brought to light that we need to have in there.
Okay.
And then we could say whether we like that. If one of us, or two of us says we don't like that, then the motion doesn't hold because the contingency fails.
So
And we
what
have
I
come
would
back
want to
again.
see is at least 2 emails back that say
Correct.
I'm in favor.
And
Okay.
what we do is we work with Sue and get Jamie on the phone that way,
Okay.
and we get word back to you. Is that fair enough? A
Yeah.
yes or no?
I mean,
whether that's right?
when would you plan on doing that? In the next 2 days?
Yeah. I'll do
Well,
it
I
on
could
the
just
plane
stop in here and pick
The
it up.
notice,
You'll send
notice
it
is
in
gonna be
tomorrow.
mailed out on the 25th, and we're having a special meeting here on the 25th.
For the voting machine?
We could add something.
Well, that's
Sue
gonna be
had-
too late that day, though.
Sue has an idea. We have a special meeting on the 25th at 11 a.m. for the public testing of the voting machines. And since we're having a meeting, we can put anything on the agenda we like.
Okay.
The problem, that's a good idea. I guess maybe the only sticking point is, how does that affect a mailing date? I mean, because if you want to
Right, I
mail the
wouldn't be able to
25th,
mail it till the following week.
Right.
At that point.
so that's a little bit.
I could ask,
This is important enough, or a week doesn't matter.
I could ask Mark to get on the phone with Bob and then
Okay.
wait until I hear back from Bob
Okay.
that you
You
guys
and
are
I can try
okay.
and work it out tomorrow and
Okay.
get something to you right away.
You think that's a reasonable idea? Work it out in a day or two?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what I want.
I think it's a
And
good
if
idea.
everybody agrees with that,
I
I mean,
agree
I don't
with
think
what-
it's,
Yeah, I think we all think that's a good idea.
Okay. All right, so that's
Well-
what I will do.
So I'll go ahead and I'll move again and slightly differently this time. I'll move that we deem the petition complete, contingent upon you hearing back from Bob, and we'll talk with him about this, that we are happy with the notice letter as drafted, that you will be sending on or before the 25th.
Okay. The one key piece of information
Okay?
before I can send notice is meeting dates. I have to notice the
Right.
meeting dates.
Okay. So we'd have to schedule a special meeting for that right now. So that's my motion. Let's see if we can pass the motion, then we'll work out the meeting dates.
Okay.
I have one more,
Any further,
this is important.
Mr.
Is
Moore?
that, okay, the 60 days is to give people opportune time to
Yeah.
come to the meeting, other meeting, whatever.
Or to write in, sign a
Or to
petition,
write
et cetera.
in.
Yes, sir.
So you need to have, from the time of the mailing, that really should start at the time of the mailing.
That's correct. It
Okay.
would. And we're presuming April 25th at this point. Mr. DeBerry's trying really hard to pin it down to April 25th. We're trying to figure out a way to make sure we got the right notice letter. And so that's why this motion is contingent upon that. And if Bob calls, sorry, I can't remember your
Mark
terms.
and Brugno.
In Brugno and says, sorry, we don't like the draft, we'll have to come back. then we're just gonna have to delay it a little bit longer, and you'll come back and talk to us about it.
You know, you're right, there's no magic to the date.
Right.
We've been trying to get this going in time to get the resort service fee going in the winter,
Yes.
so
for
that
the next
the
season.
district can actually start to collect
Start to
some
benefit.
fees. And
Okay.
there's probably 6 months of stuff that has to happen
Okay.
after the approval before that can happen.
But we definitely want to try to help. I mean, clearly, we think that there's a lot of good to this, and we want to try to move the process forward and finally put this into the hands of the community and give them the chance to write in and say whether they want it or not.
Right.
So that's good, that's progress. So that's my motion. Any discussion or objections to that motion? And if it passes, then we'll set the date for the,
Well, I agree with it a lot more about adding that to the notice.
okay. Mr. Walker?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. We deem it complete contingent upon that letter. Now, let's set the dates. It has to be at least 60 days, no sooner than 60 days, Bob?
Right.
What
It'll be
about
60 days from and after the date of mailing.
what about Monday the 30th evening?
All right, let's see here.
That work for everybody?
April the 25th is when the mailing would be,
Right.
if this works out.
Be June 30th.
So June 24th is your earliest
Right,
possible.
June 24th is the day, and that's on a Tuesday.
Okay.
But what if we went to the following Monday?
The 26th?
The 30th.
Sorry, I'm in the wrong one.
June 30th should be on Monday.
That is.
So this will seem really, I'm on vacation that week.
Hey Frank, I'll stand in for you.
Yeah.
All right, what if we went to the 27th on
Oh,
I feel like I'm.
How bad you want this?
May I interject
I want my
also?
Okay,
On behalf of the owner population on Snowshoe,
yes,
90% of which is absentee owners
correct.
all over the eastern United States, all I'm asking for is that some sort of a public meeting be conducted at a time when they can be here,
Okay.
which might be on a Saturday or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay,
It's a very
that's a
good-
good idea.
What about on a,
Now, do you want to have first meeting on a Monday? Say we're going to have 2 public meetings minimum or something, and have another one on a Saturday? We could establish this now. Because if we decided right now we wanted 2 meetings, then Mr. DeBerry, wouldn't that be appropriate to put in the notice?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He needs it.
Yeah.
so,
We could
What-
say at least 2 meetings, the dates which will be X and Y, with the right to schedule another meeting. Do you see a problem with that? Schedule further meetings if
I know,
needed.
if the notice is right,
We could say we're going to have 2 meetings on dates X and Y, with other meetings scheduled if and as needed
yeah. Okay.
after those dates. So we could do one on a Monday, as Mr. Walker's proposing. What's
Well,
good about Monday?
well, I just kind of thought Monday or Friday might be better than in the middle of the week for most people. But
Maybe
if we're
they
gonna-
would be coming in on that weekend or.
If we're gonna do it on a weekend-
Stay a little later on
I
one
mean,
day.
I don't know.
My experience is Friday meetings are kind of bad. People don't like that, but Monday should be good. I think Monday the 30th, June 30th is a good idea.
But he's
And-
not gonna be here.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
I would. You want to do it that day?
Frank,
I'll
just
do
tell
it.
us what you would prefer.
For the
there.
next Friday, or the next Monday.
Monday, the next Monday is Monday, July 7th.
Correct?
Ira, don't most of the HOAs meet on a Saturday, right? That's the day of the week that most of the HOAs meet when they hold their meetings. So just to,
What if we
like,
done
owners
one?
are used to coming to a meeting on a Saturday too.
Okay.
But Monday the 7th, which is immediately after July 4th, I don't know if that's a,
And
A
2
holiday
weeks
day.
later on a Saturday.
and then that would be Saturday, July 19th.
I might suggest, I don't know how Monday's going to work. I'm not saying it's because we meet on Tuesdays in commission, but my gut tells me Tuesday's a better meeting day for a weekday. That would be 8th, July 8th. I don't know. What do you think, Bill?
The only thing we were talking about, if somebody would come in on a weekend and would want to spend Monday here to come to the
Before they
meeting,
go back home?
save it, stay a day. I don't know what your all's opinion.
I don't believe that they're going to stay.